How's it going, everybody? I'm David Salley. This is my Module 8 PowerPoint about the article that I reviewed. First off, like I just said, my name is David Salley. I'm 22 years old. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. And I attended Harding University for undergrad, and now I'm at Henderson doing my grad school work. I'm currently the Sports Information GA for the Henderson State Athletic Department, so I write stories and do game releases and work at all the sporting events right now and getting my master's here. I'm also a huge South Carolina Gamecocks fan, so that's a little bit about me. The article that I reviewed was a systematic observation study of the teaching behaviors of a college basketball coach, written by Gordon Bloom, Rebecca Crumpton, and Janice Anderson. It was published in the Sports Psychologist Journal in 1999. Basically, what the authors were trying to discover in their review was what Coach Jerry Tarkanian, who's the coach of Fresno State men's basketball team, what were his coaching tendencies and behaviors during practice time. And they considered him an elite men's college basketball coach because of how many games he'd won. He was second all-time in wins at the time when they did the study. And so they wanted to see what kind of coaching behaviors or tendencies an elite coach would take during practice time. And so they went in and they asked if they could do it at Fresno State, and so they got Coach Jerry Tarkanian and his basketball team during the 1996-1997 season to participate in their study. The way that they collected the data was that they broke it down, his behaviors in practice, into 12 different categories of sections that they could put the things that he did into and just divide them into those subgroups. The 12 categories were technical instruction, tactical instruction, general instruction, hustle, praise and encouragement, scolds, nonverbal punishment, criticism, reinstruction, modeling, nonverbal rewards, humor, and things that they considered uncodable. So certain things that may not fit into one of those different subgroups they put as uncodable. They also left space at the bottom of their sheets for their field notes where anything that didn't have a certain group to go into, or they didn't exactly know what it was, they could write it down and describe it, so they'd have those things to help them code later through all the data. The way that they did it was they had two different researchers sit during practice where they were non-obtrusive, so they'd sit there and just watch practice, and they'd watch everything that Coach Tarkanian did during practice, and anytime he did something that was in one of these categories, they would mark it down on their sheet. And that was the way that they went through and coded all of the data for the entire season. Basically what they did was they took the mean total of the statements from each two observers. They put both their data together and combined it, and they took the mean data of all the different categories and used it as the baseline for what they were trying to do, and then they multiplied each quotient by 100 to calculate the mean percentage of the occurrence for the type of those statements over the 10 practice sessions that they attended during the season. And that was the way that they were able to synthesize all the numbers and the data to come up with average numbers for each of the categories. By the end of the study, they found ultimately that Coach Tarkanian, he was more of a positive coach. It showed through the data that the highest points that he went through and that they observed him doing throughout the season, his biggest things were he backed up hustle. He talked about hustling a lot. The technical instruction of the game, so he walked them through how to run the plays and just how to better refine their craft and playing the game. And then also just praise and encouragement. That was a big one as well. He didn't harp on the guys too much. It was more backing up with praise when they did well, and just sort of backing them up when they did the things he wanted them to do during practice, and then just general instruction, so just kind of being in charge and making sure that everything runs right. Those were the four big subgroups that really jumped out and had over 10% levels of what he did during practice in those 10 sessions that the researchers saw. And they indicated ultimately a general level of just positivity from Coach Tarkanian. And that actually, it talked about in the study, that was something that there were previous studies done on other coaches. The coach John Wooden at UCLA, who's considered one of the best basketball coaches of all time, that was a way that he and Coach Tarkanian matched up. They both were positive guys, and they both didn't ever use physical punishment, which was something that was big, and it was interesting during that time. There were coaches like Bobby Knight who definitely used that kind of stuff to motivate players, but it was something that Coach Tarkanian never did, and they found that interesting in their study, and they marked that down, is that he never made them run suicides, never used physical punishment as a way to motivate the players when they messed up. Instead, it was just all just reinforcement of what they did. And instead of spending the time on tactical training or verbalizing, whenever they could have used physical punishment, instead they just used it to further train them and walk them through better what he wanted them to do. That was what Coach Tarkanian and Coach Wooden did, and that was something they had similarly. And ultimately, the researchers in their study, they talked about in their conclusions that they just hoped that their study would shed light on what elite coaches at that level of D1 college basketball did at the time. And they talked about how in future studies they really wanted someone to go for longer than a year. They felt like their study was a little bit hampered because it was only a year. They talked about how coaches' behaviors change over time from year to year, and as coaches get older and spend more time in the profession, ultimately sometimes their tendencies can change, and so they thought that it would be beneficial if somebody recreated that kind of research in the future, that they could do it for longer than one season. So if I were to do a study like this, basically what I thought would be a cool thing to do is observe in the gym or outside how right-handed shooters and left-handed shooters both shoot free throws, and see which ones shot a better percentage, and be there in the gym to kind of break down how they went through their shooting motion and see if there was a way you could decipher which one shot better, but also why they shot better, and if there was a reason, and if it came from being a different hand. And so ultimately my observation site, if I was going to do research like that, would be in a gym or an outdoor court, something like that, either one of those two. Probably in a gym, just because there's a lot of variables like wind and stuff in an outdoor court that could affect it. My role as the observer in that situation would either be a non-reactive or a reactive. It could go either way. Probably I'd go reactive. In a non-reactive role, I would literally just sit there and let them do whatever. But in a reactive role, I could sit back and let them sort of be in charge, I let them be. I wouldn't be all up in their space or anything, but at the same time, I could control and be like, hey, I need you to shoot here or then or whenever. So that would be, I think reactive would be the way to go. I would pretty much just collect the data through field notes. I think that would be the best way to go if I was going to do this. And then I'd have to code through all the field notes when I was done, which I don't think would be too difficult because I don't think there'd be a ton of different kinds of data to code through. It would just be notes that I made to myself, little memos I make throughout the process. Here are my references, the reference for the article that I reviewed and also the reference for the textbook. So thanks for listening to me. I appreciate it. Thanks.